Hey, what's going on YouTube? My name is John Ayala, and this is John Ayala Woodworks. Welcome back to the channel if you guys have been around. If not, hit that subscribe button. I greatly appreciate that. Today I wanted to show you guys how I took the zebra wood and walnut, turned it into this one-of-a-kind, beautiful mallet. So right here what I'm doing is I'm laying out the length of the handle and the whole body of the mallet. So what I'll do is I'll cut everything to 13 inches, and that accommodates for the handle and the head and the fillers. So just take it over to the chop saw, get it all cut, and everything is still not square right now. The piece of wood still needs a little bit of love, and I'm gonna run that over the joiner right now. And the reason I'm jointing this one is it needs a reference edge for the table saw fence, so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna joint this edge, and then I'll cut off the other edge at the table saw. And what I'm doing here is I'm raising the blade to just over 3/4 of an inch so I get all my cuts nice and not too much blade showing. So we're gonna get ready to rip off that rough edge still, get everything nice and square. And then here I'm using a sacrificial fence on my miter gauge, and the fence is set at 5 inches just because that's how big I like to cut my heads, and I'll cut them down again later to their final dimensions. And on this one, I didn't have too much wood, so I was being a little unsafe here, as you can see. So use safety when you're using a table saw and cutting a piece like this, because you don't want an accident to happen. And right here, I decided to use walnut fillers. So I'm getting those cut, and I cut those at 1 7/8. And I just want to say thank you to Tools Today, who sponsored this video. They donated the miter saw blade, the table saw blade, and the router bit I used in this to do the chamfer. The links for those are going to be in the description below. And then I'm going to start the layout on this. And since this is cut at 5 inches, what you'll do is you'll mark the center at 2.5 inches, and then you're going to have to mark the center of the mallet handle as well, so you can get everything nice and square. So here I'm just laying out everything, and then I'm going to grab the handle of the mallet and get the center of that. And it's hard to see, you can't see because my hand's blocking it, but I'm just marking the center right now, so everything is going to be good to go. So here we go, everything is center. We got our fillers, just making sure, cut them to the right length. I'm going to mark it out so I know where it goes. Just doing a test fit to make sure I like the way everything's going to fit up and line up. There it is. So now we can get some glue on there and get it all glued together and start the process. This is probably the most nerve-wracking part for me, because it seems everything just doesn't go right for glue up, or it shifts and it just causes a lot of turmoil. But I made this simple little jig so it keeps everything nice and square and flush to each other. And unlike most people, I don't use brads in mine. I just use the glue. I let the glue set up, and I'm using Wilson Art type 2 glue here. And the reason I use Wilson Art glue is it dries clear, so there's no yellow glue stains or anything if you get a little squeeze out there. So here we go, just making sure everything fits nice and tight and gets how I want it. Once we do that, gonna take and just clamp the 4 corners of this mallet head. And what I like to do is I like to go side to side, and I won't clamp everything super tight, just so there's a little bit of room to move everything and adjust it as I go. So this helps me keep everything square, or it seems to keep everything square for me. And then just grab something to clean out the squeeze out here. I got a blue shop towel, and I'm just gonna wipe it. I mean, these corners are gonna get cut off, so it's not super critical. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna unclamp it after it's been clamped. I believe this one was clamped for about 20 minutes, so the glue had set up a little bit. And then we're gonna glue on the other face, and that one sat 24 hours clamped up because we had a little bit of a accident happen with zebra wood handles. So just, you know, cleaning up the rest of the squeeze out, and then I'm gonna clean this inside edge. I like to let the glue set up a little bit so it's a little harder. It doesn't come out all messy, it comes out in one piece. But you can use a straw here, that also works really well. Then I switched over to Type Bond Quick and Thick on this one. There's no real rhyme or reason why I did that. I just did that. Not sure why, like I said, no real rhyme or reason, but it's also a good glue, just like the Wilson Art. This one dries fairly clear as well, and it actually sets up super quick. So wipe off all that excess squeeze out, get everything square, and then just clamp it again. Like I said, I do the 4 corners. It's not super tight, as you can see, so everything has room to move, and I can adjust it as I go. And then once I get everything set, I'll start to lock them down. And you'll just have to clean out, squeeze up here again, like you have before. And it's not real critical on these edges because they're gonna get cut off later. But I do recommend cleaning up the inside because it'll be hard later. So I had an issue with the zebra wood handles, so I had to make a new handle out of walnut for this piece, and that was a little bit of a challenge just because I had sized everything to the zebra wood. So we're going to drop the blade here to just over 3/4 of an inch. Don't need much blade showing for this. And then I'm going to cut the handles. And I cut my handles to 1 3/8. It just seems to feel good in the hand and just makes everything easy for me. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise the blade all the way up, make sure it's square so I can cut the grooves or tenons, I guess you would call it, in the handle itself. So there's a tenoning jig, nothing super fancy. My buddy Jesse made one, and I will put a link to his, so you guys, if you need one, super easy to make. And like I said, mine's not fancy. I just threw together some 3/4 plywood and then a piece of walnut for the push block for my hand. So what I'm doing is I'm setting these lines up. I set my lines to 3/8 of an inch, lock it down, and just run the blade through it. And then you just flip the handle around, no need to adjust the fence, flip the handle around and go through it again. And then what I'll do is I will move the fence over just a little bit so I can take a hair off of the edge of the handle, so when it wedges out it creates a better seat or wedge. And right here I'm gonna drill holes in the handle so the wedges don't split the mallet handle. I've had that happen before, and it just creates a better wedging effect. And then we're gonna set the miter saw to 5 degrees to cut a little 5-degree angle in the head itself, but you can leave it square or you could do any angle you want. I just found 5 degrees works really well for me, and it also looks good. Be careful when you're doing this. I didn't clamp the piece to anything. I just went at it super slow and made sure my fingers were out of the way. There it is. Still need to break the edge with the chamfer bit, but that's what I'm going to do right now. For some reason I forgot to hit record when I was putting a chamfer on the head, so I didn't get any film of that. But here I am putting a chamfered edge on the handle, and this kind of takes a cue from the arts and crafts style. These are kind of called cloud lifts, but they're not true cloud lifts, and I just think it gives the handle some character. So what I'll do is I'll mark out, I believe it's 5/8 of an inch apart, and I will run the chamfer bit in stages. So first stage won't be so deep, second stage will be deeper, and so on and so forth. So here we are putting a little bit of glue on the handle itself, and my camera died right as I was getting ready to drive this all the way in and seat it. So there's no real footage of that. It'll show me tapping the wedges in next. There's the wedges, and they're zebra wood wedges, so it kind of looks cool, gives it a little different look in the walnut. Alright, now it's time to put a simple finish on this. I like to use a Sam Malou style finish, so boiled linseed oil, tung oil, a little splash of mineral spirits, and some Armor Seal on there. It helps it penetrate. So apply it liberally and let it soak in for a little bit, and then just wipe it off till it's completely dry. And I finish it with some beeswax. So hopefully you guys like this video, and if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comment section, and I will put a link to everything in the description that I use in the video. Thanks for checking it out. And once again, I just wanted to say thank you very much to Tools Today for the support on this video with the donation of the saw blades I used and the chamfer bit. Like I said, links for everything is going to be in the description below. And if you like this video, hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. That means a lot to me.